Hello and welcome to this biology revision video on health and immunity. In this video, we are going to cover diet and exercise, pathogens and disease, the immune system, and how pathogens mutate. The diet and exercise section of the specification looks at many areas, all of which can be covered in the exam paper. The first area that you will need to know are the 7 types of nutrients as they can come up in the exam. They're carbohydrates. Carbohydrates are used for fast energy when they're things like glucose, or slow energy when they're things like starch. Proteins, which are found in fish and meat and are used to build and repair cells. Fats, which are found in butter and cheeses. Fats are used as a long-term store of energy and can be used to help insulate the body. Vitamins and minerals, both of these help keep the body healthy. Water and fibre. Fibre keeps things in your digestive system moving. Once these nutrients enter the body, you need to consider the metabolic rate. The metabolic rate in the body is how quickly chemical reactions are taking place in your cells. The 3 main things that affect this is gender. Men generally have a higher metabolic rate than women. Proportion of muscle to fat. People with more muscle will have a higher metabolic rate, and how active or how much exercise somebody does. There are 2 main areas that you may be asked on in terms of eating and the problems that it can cause. The first one is obesity. Obesity is where excess energy from food is stored as fat. Some fat is needed for cushioning as it is an energy store. However, excess fat can lead to arthritis, diabetes, high blood pressure and heart disease. Opposite to that is losing too much weight. Losing too much weight might be caused by not eating enough food or increasing exercise. So, how much energy do we need? Males generally need more energy than females. Growing teenagers will need more energy than the elderly. If you exercise, you'll need more energy. And people who need to raise their temperature will need more energy than somebody who is already living somewhere hot where they don't need to stay as warm. The second area that we need to consider are pathogens and disease. A pathogen is a disease-causing microorganism. Not all microorganisms are pathogens. Pathogens are infectious, meaning that they can be passed from one person or one living organism to another. There are 3 main categories that pathogens can fit into. Bacteria. Bacteria are microscopic organisms. They can have many shapes and sizes, but are generally only about 10 micrometers long. Bacteria are living cells which in favourable conditions can multiply rapidly. Once inside the body, they can release poisons or toxins that make you feel ill. Viruses are many times smaller than bacteria. They need to reproduce inside living cells in order to replicate. They cannot replicate without. Viruses are difficult to treat as they are replicating inside of cells. And fungi are larger microorganisms that are multicellular and generally grow on the external surfaces of organisms. The ways that diseases can spread are by direct contact, so for instance sexual contact, or by blood transfer, by droplets, referring to water droplets that get sneezed out into the air, then breathed up into the respiratory tract of another person, in water, or by contaminated food. The last area that we need to consider when thinking about pathogens and disease that comes up in the exam is the work of Semmelweis. Semmelweis was a doctor that worked in a maternity hospital who believed that washing your hands would reduce women's deaths after childbirth. At the time, they did not know what pathogens were and did not understand how pathogens were spread. Many women used to die after childbirth due to childbed fever. He noticed doctors would go from dead body to baby delivery without washing their hands. A doctor had a cut and died from the same symptoms, which led him to believe that they were picking something up from the dead bodies. He told doctors to wash their hands, but they were very angry, blaming them for the deaths. This was because they did not know how bacteria was spread or what bacteria was. It has now been proven that washing your hands in hospitals stops the spread of infections. The next area that we need to consider is the immune system. The immune system is how your body prevents pathogens from causing you to die after you've been infected. One main part of the immune system are white blood cells. White blood cells have three major functions. They can either engulf pathogens and destroy them, they can produce antibodies to destroy the pathogens, or they can produce antitoxins to neutralize the toxins released by pathogens. Antibodies are proteins that can neutralize pathogens in a number of ways. The two main ways that they do this are by binding to the pathogen and damaging or destroying them, or they can coat the pathogens, causing them to clump together, which makes it easier for the white blood cells to digest them. The white blood cells that will digest them are called phagocytes. Phagocytes digest pathogens by phagocytosis. The first part of this is by the phagocyte recognizing the pathogen. The second part of this is by the phagocyte taking the pathogen into it and encoding it in a small vacuole. The next stage is where lysosomes containing digestive enzymes go and bind to this vacuole, and then the digestive enzymes are released into the vacuole containing the pathogen, which breaks it up. The final part of this section is looking at immunisation. People can be immunised against pathogens through vaccination. Different vaccinations are needed for different pathogens. Vaccination involves putting a small amount of an inactive pathogen or dead pathogen into the body. Vaccines can contain live pathogens treated to make them harmless, harmless fragments of pathogens, toxins produced by pathogens, or dead pathogens. The final section that I want to focus on is how bacteria can mutate to become antibiotic resistant. Over time, bacteria can become resistant to certain antibiotics. This is an example of natural selection. In a large population of bacteria, there may be some that are not affected by an antibiotic. These survive, reproduce, creating more bacteria that's not affected by that antibiotic, so therefore the antibiotic will no longer work. There are 4 main stages in the development of antibiotic-resistant bacteria. The first stage is that random changes or mutations occur in genes of individual bacterial cells. Some mutations protect the bacterial cell from the effects of the antibiotic. Bacteria without the mutation die or cannot reproduce. So the resistant bacteria are able to reproduce with less competitions from normal strains, so therefore you get an entire population of antibiotic resistant bacteria. Thank you for watching this video. I'd just like to finish off with a few general revision tips. Remember, when you're revising, find questions to ask yourself. Make sure that you switch off phones, internet, unless you're watching videos, of course, and televisions. It's better to revise earlier in the morning as your brain will be more active. Quality revision is a lot more useful than quantity of revision. Please follow the link below to find a summary sheet for this section. Good luck with your exam.